Imagine if I revealed to you a figure from the Bible who lacks a father, a mother, a family tree, a starting point, or an ending. It sounds unbelievable, yet this puzzling character emerges from obscurity, blesses Abraham, accepts his tithe, and then fades away. His name is Melchizedek, a cryptic priest whose existence might transform your perspective on Jesus Christ. Could Melchizedek be an appearance of Christ in the Old Testament? What does his timeless priesthood signify? And how might this hidden biblical mystery unveil humanity's destiny? Stick around, as this tale could be among the most profound you've encountered. In ancient days, the land was a battleground of fierce conflicts, with kingdoms rising and collapsing under the weight of war and ambition. It was a time of warriors and merciless rulers. Amid this chaos, 9 kings clashed in a monumental struggle. On one side stood Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, heading a ruthless alliance. Opposing him were 5 kings, including the rulers of Sodom and Gomorrah, fighting to break free from his tyranny. This war wasn't just about territory. It was a contest for dominance and the region's abundant riches. In the midst of this turmoil, Lot, Abraham's nephew, was taken captive, trapped in the wreckage of battle. Then Abraham, a humble patriarch without a crown, stunned the world. With only his trained servants, he launched a bold attack against the overpowering kings, rescuing Lot and claiming an astonishing victory. His name grew legendary, a force both feared and revered. Abraham's success not only altered Sodom's fate, but also cemented his status as a leader blessed by divine favor. It's at this peak of triumph that a figure cloaked in enigma steps forward, Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of the Most High God. Without prelude, lineage, or backstory, he appears before Abraham offering bread and wine. This simple act carries deep prophetic weight, hinting at something far beyond his era. Who was this king? Where did his priestly power originate, predating the laws of Moses? Remarkably, the Bible, a text obsessed with ancestry, remains silent on his roots. No father, no mother, no heirs, just a sudden presence, a pivotal role, and then disappearance. Yet his titles and actions conceal truths that defy comprehension and gesture toward a grander reality. The name Melchizedek itself unveils something astonishing. In Hebrew, it translates to King of Righteousness. But what kind of righteousness? This wasn't merely a nod to his behavior, it proclaimed his essence. In biblical terms, righteousness ties directly to God's nature, not just human rules. Melchizedek didn't merely govern a people. He embodied a divine righteousness from the Most High. His authority stood apart, unbound by known bloodlines, as if it existed since time began. Beyond being the King of Righteousness, he's also dubbed the King of Peace, ruling Salem, a name linked to the Hebrew shalom, meaning peace. This sparks curiosity. What was this place? The Jerusalem we recognize wasn't yet Israel's capital, but Salem was already a realm, and Melchizedek held sway there before any Israelite claim. This marks one of the earliest biblical nods to a site that would later become the world's spiritual heart. If Jerusalem is deemed God's city in Scripture, and Melchizedek reigned there long before David or Solomon, his presence can't be coincidental. The Bible suggests Jerusalem as the seat of Christ's future reign, the site of the temple, and the unfolding of God's plan. Thus, Melchizedek's rule wasn't a random moment. It foreshadowed something immense. After his stunning defeat of the invading kings, Abraham returns victorious. He could have seized the spoils or claimed a conqueror's title. Instead, something extraordinary occurs. Before Melchizedek, king of Salem and priest of the Most High God, Abraham kneels in reverence and offers a tenth of all he has. This act is groundbreaking, carrying theological depth that stretches beyond Israel's story. The Mosaic law didn't exist yet. The Levitical priesthood and tithing system were centuries away. Yet Abraham, the father of faith, freely gives a tithe to this mysterious priest-king. This suggests Melchizedek held a spiritual authority surpassing even Abraham's, the man destined to birth God's chosen people. If Abraham acknowledged Melchizedek's greatness, then the entire priesthood that followed, including the Levites, Abraham's descendants, was outranked by this enigmatic order. The Levitical system rested on law, but Melchizedek's priesthood predated it, rooted in an eternal divine pact. This implies Israel's priestly order was merely a shadow of a higher truth. What deepens the mystery is Melchizedek's response. He accepts the tithe and presents bread and wine, a moment echoing through time, resurfacing millennia later in a pivotal event for humanity. Why bread and wine? What did it signify then? Centuries later, King David pens a prophetic verse in Psalm 110, verse 4. "You are a priest forever, in the order of Melchizedek." But who was this about? David, a man after God's heart, was no priest, and Levitical priests weren't eternal. This prophecy pointed forward, to someone beyond David's time, a figure whose priesthood, like Melchizedek's, wouldn't hinge on Levi's line. This riddle lingered until the New Testament unveiled its meaning. Jesus Christ, the promised Messiah. From Judah, not Levi, Jesus couldn't be a priest under the law. Yet he's named high priest, not by Levitical rules, but in Melchizedek's eternal heavenly order, sealed by God's unchangeable oath. Could Melchizedek and Jesus be one and the same? In Hebrews 7:3, the writer describes Melchizedek as without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, resembling the Son of God, he remains a priest forever. This absence of lineage, unusual in a Bible meticulous about descent, hints he was more than human. His eternal priesthood aligns perfectly with Jesus, the everlasting priest whose ministry is celestial, not earthly. This has led some to propose Melchizedek was a Christophany, Christ appearing in the Old Testament before his Bethlehem birth. If true, Abraham didn't meet just a king-priest, but the pre-incarnate Christ, receiving his blessing and bowing to his supremacy. Was Melchizedek an angel, God in human form, or something else? Theories abound. Some rabbis suggested he was Shem, Noah's son, a flood survivor possibly alive in Abraham's day. But Shem's genealogy is recorded, clashing with Hebrews' emphasis on Melchizedek's lack thereof. Others propose an angel in human guise, yet angels aren't called kings ruling cities. A bolder idea. Melchizedek was a divine manifestation, perhaps Christ himself, establishing his priesthood eons before the cross. Whatever the truth, Melchizedek's role transcends ordinary history, pointing to Christ and an eternal priesthood surpassing the Old Covenant. Jesus from Judah, not Levi, became a priest not by earthly descent but by Melchizedek's heavenly order. Unlike the temporary Levitical system, his priesthood is eternal. He offered one perfect sacrifice, his blood, instead of repeated animal offerings, ministering in a heavenly sanctuary, interceding forever. Melchizedek's bread and wine prefigured Christ's Last Supper, where he declared, "This is my body, this is my blood." The link is clear. Melchizedek hinted at Christ's ultimate fulfillment. This eternal priesthood also illuminates the future. Revelation portrays Jesus as King of Kings, ruling with justice and peace, traits mirroring Melchizedek, the King of righteousness and peace. As Melchizedek reigned over Salem, Christ will rule the New Jerusalem, free of sin and death. His priesthood, begun in Genesis, culminates in Revelation's eternal reign. Today, this reveals a kingdom without end, inviting us to explore Scripture's deepest truths.